We're going to do pressing Moxibustion. First, I need to light the Moxa stick. This is just a standard Moxa stick, cheap one. So I really no longer can deal with the smell of smoke. It gives me headaches. So it's important if you're going to do moxa either to do something like grain of rice, which makes very little smoke and is quite wonderful, or if you're going to use a moxa stick, to find methods that make less smoke. So I'm sure you know, I don't know if you can see, but I'm trying to get the whole tip lit. It takes a little while. Okay, we're almost there, and by the time I'm ready, we will be there. So already we've got a lot of smoke. Okay, so I've got different kinds of moxa cloth. This is what you need for pressing moxa. This is just plain cotton that's been washed and ripped into strips and folded into layers. Ye Tianshi, a Qing Dynasty doctor, says to use red cloth. Okay. And here's the medicated cloth that I made. This is Duhuo Jisheng Tang, made into, absorbed into the cloth, and I explain how to do that in another video, which you can see. So I'm going to fold this into multiple layers, and then we're going to put it like, this joint has been hurting me a little bit lately, so I'm going to do that. Needling a joint on a finger is going to be a little painful, but this method is not painful at all. So now, I don't know if you can see, but the whole tip is red. So I've got the place, and I'm just going to go press 2, 3, 4. I feel some warmth. 5. It's pretty warm. 1 more. 6. Or we like odd numbers, so how about 7? And I feel a really intense heat, but there's no burn. It's maybe slightly pink. The cloth didn't catch on fire or scorch. And then you'd be done. And actually, I do feel a nice heat penetrating into the joint. If you use moxa sticks the usual way, let's put this out. Just can't stand it. If you use moxa sticks the usual way, holding it over, the heat doesn't penetrate very deep. It's just very superficial. But this way, because you're making that movement towards the point and because you're pressing in, the heat penetrates much more deeply. In addition to that, like I said, this is one of the things in the original discussions in the Ming Dynasty when moxa sticks were invented. This was the way they were used. They weren't used the way we use them today. This is the original way of using them. And it did say that you could do it on, areas that would be painful for acupuncture. So Zhenzhou Dacheng says that, or Li Shuzhen says that, I forget which one. So anyway, that would be a whole treatment, and I can still feel the heat penetrating in there, and so hopefully that will take away the pain. And then you saw how long did I have the moxa stick lit. If I wasn't talking, it could have been lit for even shorter period of time, so that means so much less smoke than holding it over for 10 minutes or 15 minutes or 20 minutes, and then all the smoke and qi go up into the air, not so much into the point. So this is a much more effective delivery system of moxa qi, moxa warmth, and so if I ever use moxa sticks, this is what I use. So one option is the medicated cloth, and then that adds some herbal qi to the point. In the recipes from the Ming Dynasty, they often ground up herbs and included them in the moxa stick. But, you know, it's in some ways easier just to have one moxa stick with pure moxa and then to make different medicated cloths. So, for example, here's the Duho Jisheng Tang cloth, and here's a cloth with a Honghua formula in it. And here's a cloth with my Ling Shu chapter 6 recipe. This one's for cold bee. This one's for blood stasis. This one's for cold and damp bee with somewhat of deficiency. And so you can have different cloths that you've made for different conditions, or you could just have generic plain cloth or red cloth. There's one more thing I want to show you. So I have to light it again. Ooh, and while I'm doing this, I want to talk about a couple safety things. You're only pressing for a very short period of time, so you don't want the cloth to catch on fire. This cloth should be like plain cotton. I usually get unbleached, just the cheapest cotton muslin, but 100% cotton. And then I wash it, and then I tear it into strips. And it won't catch on fire unless you press for too long, and then it won't catch on fire. It will just start to singe. And so you saw I was just pressing for a short period of time. And so that's the first thing. The second thing is when you do pressing moxa, the ancients did like an odd number of presses, but you know, you do whatever's appropriate. And you have to be careful of the tip. This method, especially if you press too hard or if you do it for a long time, the tip can start to crumble, and then if it falls off, it would fall on the patient, and that would not be good. Okay, so I'm going to show you the other thing I want to do, which is there is loquat Moxibustion. This is a loquat leaf. I'm fortunate enough to live, I know, like a block from where I live, where there's a loquat tree, and I just go cut a leaf now and then. This method, since it's lit, let me just do it and then I'll talk more about the method later. So first you put it with you wash it and let it dry. And you don't need to scrub off all the fuzz because, you know, you're not taking it orally, okay? And then you would put it on the place that you want to do the moxa. I'm doing it on my arm just because that's what I have in front of me. And then you still put cloth on top, although it can be a little thinner because, you know, the leaf is relatively thick and adds some protection. So I'm going to make sure there's no, I don't know why I keep doing this left-handed. Let's switch sides. Okay, now I have my right hand, which is better. Okay, then you would take the, you know, burning moxa stick and you press, and sometimes you might be covering a whole area, so you just keep moving back and forth in that area. And I can feel the heat going through. So you really don't want to burn the patient. You want them to tell you if it's getting hot. And every once in a while, check the tip. Sometimes it wants to go out if you press kind of hard for too long or if it's not well lit. So every once in a while, you might want to blow on it or just make sure it's relit. And then you would just keep going over this area. And again, I'm going to put this out and talk about it a little bit more because, ugh, the smoke. So you can see the cloth does get marked by it, but it's not singed or burning. You know, the other side of the cloth is perfectly fine. And the leaf, if you do this, you're going to find that the leaf starts to get dried out, and so you want to move it so you're pressing on the an area that's not overly dried out, because I guess you want the oils from the leaf to go into the area. Ooh, I'm slightly pink. I don't know, maybe you can see it, maybe not, but it feels warm and good, although I didn't have any problem there. So this is to some degree a Japanese thing. When I've seen information about it, it's come from Japanese sources. Unfortunately, I don't read or speak Japanese, and so, I've watched videos on YouTube, and there's Japanese doctor talking and doing it, and what I could understand was that the patient had liver cancer or cirrhosis of the liver or something really bad like that, and he was using the loquat leaf right over the liver, of course on the skin, right over the liver, shiny side down, and he was just pressing. The treatment might have took a half hour, so then there is plenty of smoke if you do it that way, but he was just pressing over the liver and covering the whole region with this pressing moxa. So I hope you'll experiment with it, but experiment on yourself first. The first time I did it, I had never seen it be done. I'd never had anyone teach or show me how or seen it done or seen any videos. I just was like translating from the old books, and I came across this and I said, what? What? So I figured it out and tried it, but I was so scared the first time. I just really kind of thought the cloth would just instantly burst into flames or something like that. It doesn't. And, you just have to experiment with how many layers to use. Start with more layers, and if you don't feel much after a couple presses, then take away a layer until you figure it out. But once you've done it a few times, this method is so easy and so much less smoke than regular, suspended moxa. It's called holding it over the site. So, and then once you have the idea of using leaves, I'm sure you could use other kinds of leaves and just, base it on the herbal properties. Anyway, that's pressing moxa. Yeah.